Okay, I want to talk about the underlying magic inside of alchemy, the thing that drives all of this. Everything starts at the Alchemist Cookbook. So if we open up the Alchemist Cookbook, this really is the secret sauce of everything that we do. And this is why we can do what we do with so few people. So what happens at most studios is you've got a ton of software. And you can see in the Alchemist Cookbook, we have support for Blender, Houdini, Mari, Motion Builder, Nuke, Substance, Unity, Unreal. Like, we support all of the DCCs that people typically use in a production. What normally happens is you have to have a specialized developer that knows the API of this software in and out. But not only that, they have to know how different departments use the software. So you might have an animation specialist that is a developer that works in Maya, and then you might have a lighting specialist that is a developer that works in Maya. They have complete different knowledge of how all this stuff works. What we noticed as we started doing all this is that they all kind of do similar things. So they create menus, they create shelves, they create automations like build, render, review, publish. We're starting to do things like refresh, deliver, ingest. So there's all these things that are really common to what developers do. So for example, if I wanted to make a build recipe, which would be what I would do if I wanted to auto-assemble everything. So in here, we've got the software is Blender, the recipe type is build, and it is the storyboard task. So you've got developers, what we're doing with a drop-down, creating recipe types, using different software, managing different departments, different stages of production. We're doing that with a drop-down where most studios are doing that with an individual developer for all of these things. And so in here, I can make my automated build recipe for the storyboards where I set the frames per second, create a world collection, import the boards as a multicam, add an environment, that any published environment, refresh the images, and enable stored views, which is a Blender setting. I can automate all of that very easily within the Alchemist Cookbook. I design it in here by adding steps, but then each one of these steps is code that gets created. If I create the code, I can then edit the code in my favorite editor. So if I want to edit the code that imports the multicam, I just hit this edit button and it opens up the code inside PyCharm, which is my favorite editor. And I just write the code in here and I'm done. So this is quite simple to use. And what we've noticed is writing the code for a department might be something that takes one sprint or sometimes 2 days rather than 6 months or a year. And that is the kind of savings that we're getting with the Alchemist Cookbook. All right, as an example of how quick this is, if we wanted to make a build recipe for Blender for LookDev that sort of mirrors some of the other videos we've seen of how we do that in Unreal Engine. So I'm just going to go and choose the LookDev task from the build creation menu, click LookDev, add a step. For this, we're going to import latest model. This will create a step. I'm going to change out the doc strings here. This step imports the latest published model for the current asset. After the latest model is imported, we're going to import and assemble textures. hit OK on that. And for good measure, we're going to create turntable and go the extra mile. So here, I can put the note in for the developer of what they need to do, and then the developer can get to work. All right, the code is written and the developer can get going. So if I hit this edit button, this will open this file in my favorite code editor, PyCharm. And I can just write the code for this based off of the doc strings that I've written. And once I push that to the Git repo, this is live in production and it's ready to go. So we're taking stuff that takes typically months to get this kind of stuff done. These look dev tasks, we've done them for so many different software packages that we can just look at how we did them before in Maya or Unreal or whatever. And a developer can easily find those scripts because of the way the Alchemist Cookbook is done. So if I go into Maya, for example, and I go to the look dev task, I see that I have an import model and import textures. If I go to the code view, I can see how I'm importing the model. Oh, I'm using the smart task system, model task import latest. And I can just find this code very easily and repurpose it for another software package. In this way, we're saving tons of time for development.
A few moments later.
In fact, we are saving tons of time. I actually kind of hunkered down and just went and wrote those pre-flights so that I could show you live how this works. So first, let's just do a demo. We've got our Jack look dev task. I'll open up Blender by double clicking. And I can just go in here and hit the Alchemy menu and build, because that's what we just built. So I did add a create HDRI rig as a stretch goal, but I haven't finished that one yet. So, but I'll show you everything that we talked about in the video. I just hit run all and it just runs through everything. If I go over to my animation panel, I can see that I have a somewhat slightly off kilter camera. My centering is, my math on that's a little bit off, but I can just pop it down like this and I can go into shading mode and we have our textures. There we go. We have a turntable, guys. So I'm gonna do a little bit more work and make an HDRI of this, but you kind of get the idea. This is pretty cool. And it's fast. Like, that took me about 3 hours to do that. And I had to write a bunch of core backend code. I hope you enjoyed that really brief overview of the kinds of things that are possible with the Alchemist Cookbook. Let me know in the comments questions that you have, more videos that you'd like to see. This has been Cooking with Alchemy, the Look Dev build. Alchemy. Automating everything but the art.